This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is Greg Morton. It is Sunday, April 10th, 2022. This is the weekend update for the Greenville Eastside IBD Meetup Group and the Stockyard Meetup Group. As always, standard disclaimer, we know all investing has substantial risk of big losses, so we want to learn first and only then invest. So today we're going to look at the M factor like we always do. What do we see this week? Constructive action or destructive action? Hint, not pretty. Charts are showing us that there's strength lacking in the growth area. I'll look at the one sort of growth sector I think that's still holding up at least and showing some strength. And then I'll go over the agenda for our meeting, big monthly meeting coming up this Tuesday, which is April 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So as O'Neill teaches us, M is definitely the most important letter in Canslim. 3 out of 4 stocks are going to follow the general market trend. We want to diagnose, we want to interpret, but we do not want to predict. And we're going to look at 3 things: the action of leading stocks, actions of stocks owned. This week, the market force decreased exposure, and market pulse, distribution day count, and price and volume on the indexes. So to just kind of go through our history lesson, 4 weeks ago, we had 3 follow-through days, on one on each of the indexes we look at, and I include the Dow in there because IBD started looking at it again sometime. So S&P 500 was up 2.24% and the Dow up 1.35%. These were the 3rd follow-through days since the bear market started, and they were on day 15 in the rally, and that happened on Wednesday, March 16th. The NASDAQ was actually up 3.77% that day, but it was only day 2 of the rally on the NASDAQ, so that did not count. However, on Friday, March 18th, the NASDAQ had its own follow-through day, 3rd one in this bear market, and it was on day 4 of its new rally attempt, and it was up 2%. Same time, all the MMTS in the coloring book flipped to green. The window of opportunity opened, and IBD also went to confirmed uptrend or green. So the action since those follow-through days has been constructive overall in my interpretation or diagnosis until this past week. And this past week, the weakness took over as opposed to the strength. So let's take a look. We'll get out of here. Let's exit full screen, and I think I forgot to open the group teaching portfolio, so let me do that. So we'll take a look at it, but we'll go to MarketSmith first. Let's look at the indexes. So here's the NASDAQ on the daily. So we were making nice progress, holding above the 21-day constructively, had a subsequent follow-through day right there on that blue day, which was right at the 10% correction level and right under the 200-day. And then it just hit its head on things, came down Tuesday this week and Wednesday, particularly this big gap down day were the ugly days, and now we even closed under the 50-day line and under the 21-day on Friday, actually under the 21-day for those 3 days. So, and our RS line suddenly took a little nosedive there. S&P 500 again was back above the 200, now back below it and fighting there and fighting right at the 21. NYSE, same thing, got this battle going on at the 200-day. Dow tried to get above it, has got knocked back down, had a bad week like everybody else, and then the small caps just took it on the chin. So Russell 2000 even worse, way down under the 50-day, 10 and 21 have turned back down. S&P 600 looks like they're going to cross back over the 50-day. It was red every day this week. Did the Russell do that this week? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. It was red every day but Monday. So just seeing weakness there, to say the least. So let's look at the coloring book. We're also going to see it reflected there. So came into the week on Monday, everything was green, Power Trends owned, Market School was at maximum exposure of 7, and then we had Tuesday and Wednesday. So we had heavy distribution back to back on Tuesday and Wednesday, pretty much driven by Fed speak on Tuesday as one of the doves turned hawkish suddenly. and then we had the Fed minutes came out on Wednesday. So markets got slammed both those days. You can see some of the percentages down. IBD on Wednesday went back to uptrend under pressure. You can see the MMTS changes. The Russell slammed, right to red. Did not cross go, did not cross, collect $200, just skipped yellow. Then both those went to red, and on Friday, the NASDAQ MMTS, after having gone yellow, flipped to red. So we're just seeing that weakness come in. I do have 8 buying days and 7 selling days in the 25-day window. So that's just battling back and forth, trying to get to green also. So we definitely are at a critical juncture. And if we look at the group teaching portfolio, you can see there's the 2 bad days. Heavy distribution got slammed back down to underwater, 3.4% for the year, and knocked back to only be invested about 57% by the market action this week. I only have 5 different tickers. 3 of them are ETFs. And only 2 of them are full positions, which are the shaded green at the 70,000. But SQM's smaller. It was green, but we took profits at the profit goal, still holding 25%, and we'll look at that and the rules we're using for short-term profit extension at our meeting on Tuesday. So that's sort of where we are year to date on that. So let's go back here. Covered all that. So this is my slide from last weekend with the edits in it. So I kind of did this like the Fed minutes, so you can see what I took out and what I put in. So we had a low distribution day count last weekend, but now the new information is in red. We have 2 on the NASDAQ and 3 on the S&P 500. Dow had those heavy days. Fed speak and Fed minutes were Tuesday and Wednesday. So we had another one of those wicked Wednesdays, which can happen every 3rd Wednesday because we hear from the Fed every 3rd Wednesday. Either we have a meeting or we have the minutes from the last meeting. So that's sort of the vicious rinse, wash, rinse, repeat cycle that we seem to be in currently. Breakouts and early entries are only making limited progress, and some are failing. See ANET, that was looking good, Arista, and then it looks like it's had a failed breakout. Not seeing more and more setups, seeing limited setups, maybe some strength in the medical sector. We're going to look at those charts. Moving average lines that were being conquered and put in the rearview mirror, that went away. Subsequent follow-through days, that was Tuesday a week ago, was nice, but now we have weakness. Power outage, that is still ended, and the power trend turned on. So that's constructive. But down here, MMTS is no longer green. 3 of the 6 are red. Window of opportunity still open, but the Matt Caruso high-low indicator also went from green to red this week. So we're seeing that sort of weakness come in. Sorry, should have gone back to the big slides. So now, instead of that go time and green button that I had on last weekend, I agree with IBD, we're under pressure, we're being more cautious. I talked about, as we had the follow through day, did you want to be the tortoise or the hare? I said definitely the tortoise, but tortoise now is defensive. So we're back in that shell. Still have headline risk. We got Fed talk and now Fed walk. You remember the fall 2018 bear market was triggered. The big incentive back then was the Fed talk. So now we're getting the Fed walk that relates back to that. Got inflation, got persistent supply chain issues, not only in the chip sector, but elsewhere. You can see it in your grocery store shelves. You're having trouble supplying some items in your refrigerator. So EPS season has started, it's ramping up. That often can drive a market up or down. Going to hear a lot about inflation. Going to hear a lot about any companies with exposure to Russia. You're already seeing some billion-dollar hits that companies are talking about as far as their revenue or perhaps on their bottom line P&L. War situation today, incredibly, is day 46 of Russia and war crimes by Russia. So that obviously is a headline that can produce volatility. Key reminders, Canslim works better when the NASDAQ is trending above the uptrending 50-day, works best when we're above an uptrending 21-day EMA line. So we, saw those lines, losing them and retaking them to the downside this week. We don't want to see that. So some charts, go back to Market Smith real quick. I just threw some of the medical stocks in here. Weekend update. We'll go to weekly charts. So here's Vertex. This has been a leader. It's extended. It's just the fact that it continues to show strength. Close at a weekly high on. It's got the balloon high volume indicator. So that's that chart looks good. Regeneron also been leaded. Good close. Great RS line. So these are extended, but it's nice to see they're holding up. Pfizer, potential early entry there. Good Canslim numbers, as you can see. Eli Lilly extended, but again, showing strength, which means these are working. Merck, potentially setting up something. Maybe it can form a little handle in here or something. Very liquid, trades $1 billion per day. Nice return on equity, pre-tax margins also. Same thing on Lilly, although Lilly's got kind of high debt. Horizon Therapeutics, sorry. So this one is setting up also. Some weakness there in the Canslim earnings and sales, particularly on the earnings side to look at, but these are just things to study. RS line's about to go to new high, and you got Fidelity Contrafund in that one. So that's about the only traditional growth sector that's holding up, and maybe that's the last forest in the trees. It may get chopped down too. So monthly meetings, we meet this Tuesday. You sign up at the Stockyard Meetup site. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Our monthly meetings, tuition is $12, but that includes the full recording and the slide deck, and I send the links to any articles or things I talk about during the meeting. If you don't sign up for the meeting and you want to order those down the road, they're available, but it's just a little higher price. So it's better to just sign up for the meeting. And if you're a first timer, I send you a courtesy copy of the March meeting recording, slide deck, and all the related links. So here's our agenda for Tuesday. So we're going to look at the M factor as we do each weekend. Going to go over some recent Canslim nuggets and tips or tricks that I would tell you about, or helpful tips within Market Smith. Big educational topic. We're going to talk about wading back in after a follow-through day. How do you actually do that? What's that look like? What are your potential entries to increase market exposure? And we'll sort of look at how we did that in the group teaching portfolio after the most recent follow-through day. We're going to go through, and we probably will do this each month, kind of looking at the cousin stocks in the EV space. That was a topic also of my presentation yesterday at the Ukraine fundraising Canslim event. And we'll always look at the group teaching portfolio, look at recent buys and our sells. Normally we'll look at the IPO market each month, but that's still dead as a doornail. So it'll come back. So we'll be talking about it in a few months, and I'll be saying some positive things, hopefully. And then we'll do Q&A for the last 15 minutes. Sometimes it's 9 o'clock before I get that started. So we often run a little bit late, as y'all know. So here's just a list of the prior meetings. These are available to order. If you don't have written sell rules, great time to be working on those. I spent 3 months teaching that. Also, a complete weekend routine was in September and flowed over into October. So you can see those. If you're interested in any of those, just send me an email at this address and I'll send you the whole list, order and instructions, and you can decide what you want to do. The meetup websites, I'll show you both of those, Twitter handle, and you can look at the YouTube page also. So here's the two websites for the meetup groups. Here's the Greenville East Side one. Again, if you go to the More tab, message boards, there's these top 3 pinned posts are from me. So there's a ton of links in there. The top one will have the current group teaching portfolio and the current coloring book linked. I'll have to update those because those were of last weekend. Steve Sweat's window of opportunity spreadsheets linked. And then under the other 2 messages, there's just tons of Canslim resources that I've collected over the years and have linked to. And then the Stockyard Meetup site is here. This is where you sign up for the monthly meetings. You just RSVP, and then I'll send out access code and instructions on Monday, late Monday during the day, end of business day for the Tuesday meeting. So I think that's it. Hope you have a great weekend routine. Important week to keep studying the indexes and leading stocks and what we're seeing. So that's it. I'm out of here.